It is the Final Word Cricket Podcast, a daily edition of the show on the hallowed turf, always the hallowed turf, trademark.
You have to, and call it the home of cricket.
Of Lords, the home of cricket. You can probably tell already that's Bharat Sundaresan next to me. I'm Adam Collins, the normal host of this show. I should tell you that it's brought to you by Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm, and by our new commercial partner, New Brew. Now, I'm holding that up to the screen, a bottle of New Brew. I've been dunking this stuff since it was sent to me. We'll tell you more about them in the middle of the show. We're so happy to have them on board for the English International Summer from this point forward. Baz, it's the World Test Championship final. That's why we're here. The culmination of 2 years' hard work. The Australians trying to defend their title from across the river in 2023. The South Africans in the decider for the first time, looking for their first major ICC trophy. We know both of the 11s. We're ready to roll.
Yes, and Marnus is going to open. So Marnus Labuschagne will be Australia's new test opener. For now, just for this test match. It doesn't mean that he's going to be the test opener the long term. Maybe he will be. We don't know that. For now, it's just Marnus to open. Cam Green comes in at number 3. And with Marnus, Adam, I saw him for the first time training on this tour 3 days ago in Beckenham. It was an optional day. And with family here, the moment I even saw him there facing the new ball, I knew he was going to open. Maybe he hadn't been told, or maybe he was convinced that he was going to play that role. And it's good to see him in that position. He's faced the new ball quite a bit here, batting at number 3 for Australia in county cricket. So he's no stranger to the Duke's ball. He's no stranger to starting afresh on this ground. So good things happen to Marnus when he starts afresh here. So maybe it's a good start.
Smith, of course, was set and forget at 4. I mean, there might have been a sort of an intellectual argument for letting him bat 3, given his experience. And he's got a double 100 batting at 3 in Test cricket here in 2015. I mean, to think he made his Test debut 15 years ago here in a neutral Test. He's played 4 Ashes Tests between times and comes back to this ground where he's utterly dominated in recent seasons, and a city he loves as well. He's got 3 more Test tons at the Oval.
He does, and if he does continue on to 2027 and comes back here for the Ashes, there's a potential of a WTC final again, and maybe it will be at Lords. We don't know who the opponent is. It could be 3 neutral tests at Lords. I don't know how many would have even come close to doing that. But it's so many of these Australian cricketers have such good memories of playing here, and Josh Hazelwood is one of them, and he's the one who comes back in to the team, replacing Scott Boland, who the number of times Scott Boland has been player of the match or pulled off an extraordinary performance and then not played for 6 months. It's just the story of his career.
Yeah, I mean, and no one, and Cummins, we interviewed Pat Cummins before for radio, and no one is suggesting that Boland has been air quotes dropped. It's just he's been squeezed out by Hazelwood, who has always been seen as a member of the starting big 3. And you can debate that, but we're talking sort of 51-49s here. Career best form on a ground where he's got vast experience. He was superb here in 15, 19, 23. And there is something about certain bowlers who just make Lords a ground that they love. Some bowlers are just so well suited to it, and Hazelwood's one of those. So the fact that he has bowled so much in the build-up to, you were watching them net at Beckenham here at Lords a couple of days ago as well, it made him the obvious selection.
Very much so, and I think it was just a question of fitness. Obviously went down with that injury in the IPL, but then returned to the IPL in the last week, played a huge role in Bangalore winning that tournament. It just purely in terms of how well he's been bowling, this is the best he's bowled in a long time, and in his own admission, he said this is the best he's bowled in his career. And for someone at his stage, 11, 12 years into his Test career, to be saying that tells you a lot. And once he was ruled as being fit, and he had the long session 2 days out, 12 over spell, went off, came back and bowled 5 overs. You knew he was always going to beat Josh, but you still feel for Scott Boland. Don't forget 2 years ago, it was his spell on that final day, got rid of Virat and Jadeja when it looked like India might chase down that total that turned this game, and he's coming off 10 wickets as well. But he'll get his chance.
Yeah, he did it in 1 over, didn't he, Boland at the Oval, when he was picked ahead of Hazelwood. So it's not always been straightforward, but the circumstances have played out in favour of the big 3, plus Nathan Lyon, the ground where he did his calf here last time we were here, and he hobbled down the pavilion stairs like Colin Cowdrey against the Windies all those years before, and of course Australia went on to win that narrowly in a terrific match. We should be so lucky for it to go that way again. Webster slotting in at 6, we haven't mentioned him properly yet. In effect keeps his spot. He was brilliant on debut against India in a really high stakes Test match, similar to this in a way, in as far as it being a one-off that Australia needed to win that week. Of course, they need to win this week, and Webster held his own against Bumrah and co. This time around, Webster provides support to the fast bowlers, and Cummins is very upfront about that. He's not just there to bat. They want Webster in these conditions. Of course, he's been playing with Warwickshire in the championship in recent weeks. And then they'll be up against Rabada and Janssen and Geedy, Maharaj. There'll be nothing easy about the task against the Proteas, who the last time they were here in 2022, they thrashed England inside 3 days.
You have talking about a world-class attack, and just going back to the bigger picture here, Australia versus South Africa. You can talk all you want about, South Africa maybe didn't deserve to be here, or we wish it was India or England. But you look at this South African team, and especially the bowling attack, and then you look at the Australian batting lineup, which we just mentioned. You have two batters playing out of position, Green at 3 and Marnus to open. Webster's in his 4th test match. So you have Khawaja, Smith, Head and Carey in that top 7. So there are vulnerabilities, or at least in terms of newness of position, that they can exploit. And Cam Green's coming back to Test cricket after a whole year. So there are a lot of things there which don't make Australia like straightforward favourites, if you want to call it that. I think the big question will be the batting. Can South Africa's batting allow their bowlers to really show how good they are? And in Rabada you have someone, he's been in the news for all sorts of reasons of late, but he's ranked number 2. And those who don't follow South African cricket as closely as mainly people of South Africa do, have stopped talking of him in the same breath as a Cummins or a Bumrah, right? Which surprises me. I was just speaking to a couple of South African journalists. They're like, he's the one superstar back home. He's the only one who has to worry about going out and being recognized. The others kind of fly under the radar. So this is Rabada's chance in a big world final to, he's just turned 30 recently, you said. So this could be a huge moment in his career and for South African cricket.
And they've been so upfront, South Africa, about wanting players who are fully committed to the Proteas, and I respect that, because it's complex for South Africa. We've been very critical of cricket South Africa for what they did only last year when not sending a proper test team to New Zealand, although they did open an opportunity for David Bettingham, who'll be playing tomorrow. But I digress. The bigger picture was just that it felt like they were drifting away, but now their management are like, no, if you're a test player, you're a test player. And someone like Rabada, 327 test wickets at 22, ranked number 2 in the world. He's played 70 times for his country. He's got an absurd strike rate, a fantastic record here at Lords. He is the kind of guy who, right now, at age 30, should be at the peak of his powers. He's the kind of guy who could, theoretically, win a World Test Championship final on his own, in the very same way that he won a test here against England 3 years ago. So, yeah, you're right. It's not as conventional or straightforward as there's a mismatch here, because Australia have had to do it a little bit tougher in qualification. This South African team is made of tough stuff. And
now you speak of Rabada peaking. I think Marco Jansen at 24, because he started so young, I think he's peaking already. You just see his body language, the way he walks around. He feels like a leader in this team. And I'm so impressed by their new coach, Shukri Conrad. I actually bumped into him. I'd never been to a press conference of his before yesterday, and I was so impressed. I bumped into him later on. I said, that's the best press conference I've heard in a long time, and he was very happy to hear that. So, and he seems to be saying all the right things as well in a good way. And he believes that Janssen is at a stage in his career where he can really be that leader going forward. I mean, with bat in hand, he's taken them home in a couple of tight run chases. His bowling's getting better all the time. We saw him in Australia a few years ago when he was so raw. He still troubled a couple of the Aussies with that awkward bounce. And he's the kind of bowler Australia haven't faced a lot of in recent times. Tall, left arm. It's going to be a unique challenge. And you can see Australia brought in the likes of James Franklin into their support staff to add to what Daniel Vittori already provides with that left arm angle. So they are thinking about him. So it's not just Rabada or bust. There's Rabada, there's Janssen, and don't forget Maharaj. And Steve Smith said yesterday that he expects spin to play a role here. And Maharaj has always done well against Australia, and Steve Smith in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone like Tristan Stubbs, who's got this prodigious T20 record. He's seen as an amazing ball striker. Of course, played around the world, the IPL most recently. But at Test cricket, he's been a different kind of player, and he's enjoyed success in his brief career so far. He wants to be here. I guess that's the story I'm keen to drill home here. The 11 guys who wear that dark green cap tomorrow, they want to be part of this. This isn't sort of some exercise in ticking a box for them. They want to reinforce, I reckon, as well, how important Test cricket is to them. Let's not forget that, again, it's only last year that New Zealand episode happened. I reckon I stood out there before the 2022 test with Daniel Norcross and declared something like, I don't think South Africa will ever play Test cricket in this country again, owing to the off-field machinations around the SA20 and the home summer. And look, maybe we have reasons to be expressing doom and gloom about South Africa long term, but boy, if they win a trophy this week, if they can win the World Test Championship final at Lords against Australia, that will make an enormous statement to the global game at large that they want this to be part of their future too.
Starting with what it'll mean to the next generation of South African cricketers. I asked Temba Bavuma in the press conference earlier about that, and he said, look, already just the fact that we've made it to the final, there's so much more impetus on red ball cricket. The messages that are coming from their new coach, Conrad, you mentioned, but even they're looking at the squad that's been announced for the series against Zimbabwe, a lot of young players coming through, and he said at a time, and I think Tristan Stubbs is in a way the poster boy of that, the amount of hard work I've seen him put in the last few days. He was here earlier today for an optional session. He's in there. His strike rate in Test cricket is 52. So when you see a young player showing the eagerness to play different formats in different ways and not just say, look, this is the one way I play, I'm just going to bash the ball around, I think that's a great sign for him, but a great sign for South African cricket as well. And South Africa are always under pressure in a big final because they're carrying the load of them not winning much or winning ever in a world final, but they're also carrying the load for everyone else because New Zealand will be watching, Sri Lanka will be watching, Pakistan. Good luck, South Africa, by the way. Just putting a little more pressure on you, because if they win here, then the narrative, if not for it to change completely, you will start talking about other teams. So they're doing it for the rest as well, if you want to call them the have-nots of cricket or Test cricket anyway. So they are flying the flag not just for themselves but for 6-7 other teams.
Yeah, as Neil Manthorpe calls it, the big three and the small seven. Well, at the moment it may well be the Proteas leading the small seven. Baz, before we go to a break, grab that from under my arm, will you? That's my bottle of New Brew. Now, New Brew, we are so thrilled to have their team partnering with us for the rest of the summer here. We'll be part of our India-England dailies and included this week in the World Test Championship final as well. They were founded in 2020 by a chap called Martin Cook, who I've been talking to quite a bit in recent days. They've got 150,000 customers worldwide. We have a discount code, which I'll come to in a sec as well. But this is bloody good. I've not been able to get this out of my hands in the last few days since my package arrived. The idea is that it's a very tasty, drinkable supplement to support brain health and performance. Has a special ingredient called nootropics, which helps with memory, clarity, and mental energy. Basically, it's a tasty way to give your brain a little boost every day. I have got so many different talking points about New Brew. I cannot wait to tell you all about them through the course of the summer. All I know categorically right now is I bloody love the stuff. So I'll be drinking that through the rest of the summer. New Brew, you can get with us in the show notes. I'm looking at my phone. We'll commit this to memory soon enough. Newbrew.com/final word. Now that's spelled NOOBRU. New Brew, as you can see on the vision here. That's the strawberry lemon flavoured one, which was very attractive to me. Now you get a 15% discount that's applied automatically once you go to the link. So you don't need to do anything. You just go to the link, newbrew.com/final word. That'll be in the show notes. We'll tell you a lot more about what they do, where they fit in, and why we're absolutely proud to be partnering with them through the summer of 2025 here. Back in a sec for the rest of our show today. It's the Final Word Daily. Adam Collins and Bharat Sundaresan, brought to you, our principal partner on the podcast through seasons 18 and 19 is Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm. They have made the decision to back us all the way through this summer and through the Australian summer that follows. We're telling you at the moment the stories of where their lawyers have been able to make a big difference for clients of theirs in relation to superannuation insurance. Take Craig, for example, had a client, one of their lawyers, the client was suffering from significant symptoms of anxiety and depression due to their stress as a role as a construction manager. When Craig first met his new client, the TPD claim that had been under assessment from his insurer for almost a year and had this ongoing uncertainty and pressure was only adding to this stress and anxiety. So Maurice Blackburn took on the insurer together, and eventually they paid him a benefit of more than $2 million plus almost $100,000 in interest because of the insurer's unreasonable delays. He's now in a much better place with his mental health, and the acceptance of his claim has completely changed his financial situation. So we tell these stories to encourage people to learn more about their superannuation insurance. You can do that by simply searching Maurice Blackburn or clicking through in all the usual places in the show notes. Baz, I thought before we move away from the show today, we should sort of zoom out and think about the fact that the whole cricketing world has arrived here in London, hasn't it? We had the World Cricket Connects conference behind us here on the weekend, which I was lucky to attend and make a contribution to. Funnily enough, on the panel, is cricket cool? I'm not sure whether a 40-year-old with a school dad should be deciding what's cool or not, but put that to one side. the conversations around the global game happen in weeks like this because everybody's here.
And that's why you need more of these, really, right? Like it's, at the same time when, I was thinking about it on my flight here. I said, look, the Indian team's coming. And as it turned out, India landed here the same day that the Australian team had the first session that I covered and also practiced at Lord's, as we now know, thanks to Ben Horn's story, whereas Australia and South Africa couldn't. But it's such an important juncture for Test cricket in particular, cricket always, but Test cricket in particular, where you now see where it goes next. Like, where will we be 5, 6, 7 years from now? So much talk of India, England, Australia playing more and more with each other, but then what happens to the rest? Because you're talking about, in India's case, they still go and play everywhere else. In Australia's case, they don't play against everyone else. I mean, think about Bangladesh and Zimbabwe and the rest, or even West Indies. We're going there for the first time in 10 years in a few days' time. England are somewhere in the middle between India and Australia. So what are they going to contribute to the future of cricket? And, is cricket cool is a very good question. I think it's cool, but look at me. I think everything is cool, but it's so good. And then we had the Hall of Fame yesterday as well. And I think, like you said, the who's who will be here. I'm pretty sure Ravi Shastri will be doing the toss tomorrow. I know he's in town. Hey, he's having a good time, so that'll be good fun. And it'll be good at a time when you might have worried, like me, that the focus will be more on India-England because A, we are in England, and B, because it's India, or A, because it's India. It's good that this test match gets some from free air, like they say in our country of Australia, and also it's some breathing space. And also on the sidelines, you can talk about these things, important things about where to next. How did South Africa get here? Yes. What happens to South Africa? What happens to the likes of New Zealand and Sri Lanka and Pakistan we mentioned? And also the associates. I mean, there's some great associate cricket going on elsewhere. I still think white ball cricket is in great health. So is red ball cricket. But we can't get complacent now. I mean, nobody, not just the people running the sport, people covering the sport as well. And it's good that there are these platforms where we can talk about it openly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about that Indian training session out there. I mean, that would be Hall of Fame worthy if we were doing that kind of show today. That was very amusing when Ben Horn, who's part of the Australian Media Pack this week for News Corp, was able to reveal that Australia were travelling 90 minutes in a bus despite playing here, and India, who aren't due here for about a month as far as the Test team is concerned, got primacy. But that's okay. That's the way these things work sometimes. That's the way that this show works as well, talking about things just like that. If you're new to the final word, if you're just buckling up with us for the first time, what we do every night after play, Jeff's in tomorrow to London as well. We recap the game in about 20 minutes or the day's play, and you can listen to all of our longer programming, including my interview yesterday with Todd Greenberg, which was chock full of stories. We're grateful that he was able to be so open and honest, I think, with us on this platform, and that's the type of thing we like to do on The Final Word. Baz, you've got a story to write. I've got places to be, a game to play, indeed, this evening as well. Can't wait to spend the whole week with you.
Yes, and this is just the start of a 4-week run for us and the Australian team. We finish this and head to the Caribbean, where we've never been to the Caribbean at the same time. No. So I'm really looking forward. You know how I am in the Caribbean. It's my second home, or my first home in many ways. So I'm looking forward to hosting you in the Caribbean, Adam.
Terrific. Thank you for watching The Final Word today, brought to you by both Newbury, which I spilt all over myself a moment ago. If you're watching the video, you will have seen that. And of course, Maurice Blackburn Lawyers and our mighty patrons, patreon.com/The Final Word. We loves yous all. Here's the World Test Championship final. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Catch you tomorrow.